And you're listening to the HomeBuyer's Hour on WCPT AM 820, where the facts matter. And looky here this week, folks, I am actually not aggravated with Patrick Loftus today. So with that being said, yes, give me time. It might still happen. I love him to death. But Patrick, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. Please tell us about you and your company, and how do people get hold of you?
Good morning. My name is the Mustard Monster.
Oh, my gosh.
And I am a real estate lawyer. My law firm is called Loftus Law. Find me on Instagram, Loftus_law. Find me on TikTok at Loftus Law. And if we're lucky, I will elaborate on why I called myself the Mustard Monster.
You need to do it right now. We got to get it out of the system.
Okay. So at breakfast, I'll do this as fast as I can.
Please.
At breakfast, I was looking over Charlie's shoulder, and there was a gentleman eating an omelet, and he had the French's mustard container. He had unscrewed the
nice
top.
Plug.
Well, whatever.
Go on.
I guess you can edit that.
French's get at me. There's more where that came from, if you know what I mean. The unnamed mustard container, he unscrewed the top and was just dumping mustard onto this omelet. And like he would take a bite and then dump like globs of mustard. It was as if he had, I don't know, there was like someone dared him to eat the entire bottle of mustard with his omelet. I can't imagine doing that. Okay. But it was just, and the way he was eating, there was like, how the cheese stretches up and like it was just.
That was an hour and a half ago, and he's still bothered by this. So let's take a deep breath.
That's the most Chicago flex ever. All mustard all day.
Exactly.
No
What's wrong
ketchup.
with it? No ketchup. It's like
No.
a hot dog.
No hot sauce either. This guy.
Unorthodox.
I'm gonna do a little sketch. I can put it on the. Anyways.
And in the studio with us, we also have Nicole Hadju. Did I pronounce that right?
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
That was horrible.
Nicole, how do you pronounce that, please, your last name?
Hadju.
Hadju. Thank you very much. Nicole Hadju. And basically, we're going to be talking about the crazy market, what's been happening over the last 3 weeks. I know all of us are busier than heck right now. But if you don't mind, Nicole, please give us your contact information, a short spiel about you, and why you're so special. You are my favorite
Because I
real
don't
estate
use a lot of
broker.
mustard. I think that's why I'm so special right now.
Well, yeah, you're.
We're not going to get off this.
You're
mustard,
following
folks.
me, and you're going to have things to say that don't involve mustard.
Yes.
It's going to be the mustard.
I'm going to be very
episode.
mustard heavy.
Lately, yeah, going forward.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Nicole Hadju. I work for Dreamtown Real Estate. And to get a hold of me, you can call me. Most people do. 773-727-2199. I'm on Insta, as Patrick was saying.
Nice.
Nicole, or actually it's the Hadju Group Real Estate. And I don't know what makes me special, that I don't put a lot of mustard on my omelets.
No, it's that you actually care about your clients and you go way out of your way.
I do
for
care
it.
about my clients.
I can say something that was special. She ordered a smoothie, and somehow she figured out the smoothie that was the same color as her manicure, and I was super impressed because it was like, man, like no detail is left unobserved and dealt with, which
And
I
for
reckon is
solid real estate information, please tune into the HomeBuyer's Hour on WCPT.
Yeah,
nail polish and mustard.
we'll get around to it, but I mean, that attention to detail. I mean, if you're that tuned into detail on the color of your smoothie, imagine how tuned into detail you are in other areas of your life.
Well, the owner of Dreamtown, Yuval Dagani, says I'm the most organized person he knows. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Do you see how we come around?
I
Yeah,
love
we
it.
came
You've
around
got to
there.
work with my ADHD brain because the circles are concentric, but we get there.
They're intertwining.
I forgot to bring the Adderall for you, I think so. But anyway, we're moving on. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We're going to make a self-proclamation here that we are the #1 rated home inspection company in the entire Chicagoland area. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. Again, that's 312-544-9180. If you press number 3, you'll get to me. And Joey, I saved you for last because after you introduce yourself, I want you to please give us some rundown of what's going on and why the hell is this market so busy right now?
Why, hello, friends. Joey Matthews, NMLS 1330694, the VA Loan Nerd. You can find me at thevaloannerd.com or across all social media as at the VA Loan Nerd. If you're old-fashioned, you can go ahead and call or text me at 630.
That's old-fashioned.
2405. Yeah, we'll call it old-fashioned because I just felt like saying it. No, so I tell you what, I've had 15 contracts come in since Saturday. So we are heating up big time, and that's nationally because it's all over the place. I have pre-approvals fly. It is insane. So if you have been sitting on the fence, I'm sorry, but
The fence
you may
is
have
moving.
sat too long. Yeah,
The fence is moving.
Yeah, you're getting lonely out there on the fence at this point, it seems.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, we're booked out over a week right now. We're scheduling next week, and I got a feeling we're going to start getting those phone calls where people are going to start begging and offering to pay double to get us to do it. But it's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
So how's my favorite Jerome Powell doing? Is
He's talking. He's literally running his mouth right now. I'm staring at him on the
Running his
squawk box here, walk on the street. He is. So the JOLTS report, the job openings and layoffs, the ADP jobs report, both of those came in slightly light today, which makes sense because I locked 3 loans yesterday. So it's a mortgage guy joke because anytime you lock loans, the next day you'll see market improvement. That's just the way the world works. So anyway,
it's a very specific joke.
I know. I didn't understand. I needed it explained. You know?
Yeah. So right now he has confidence that the inflation is being quelled. There will not be more rate rises throughout the year. And he's just talking. He's literally in Congress testimony. I'm watching them right now. But long story short, it comes down to the market is going to continue to be. I guess I'll just say stagnant. It's been. The 10-year Treasury has been trading around this 4.1% yield, give or take 20 basis points since the end of December, right? So we are we're just sitting here and waiting for some more cracks to show, and that'll give us a better indicator of when the Fed will start dropping their Fed funds rate. I know the Arizona governor said that he would anticipate the first funds rate cut to be 50 bips, which created a nice reaction in the market yesterday. What
does the Arizona governor know about that?
Did I say? I meant Georgia. I apologize. Not governor. I'm sorry. The Georgia Fed governor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a heck of a thing to say because anyone who is associated with the Fed is they would know. An
attorney.
Well, they would know how important it is. Every word that comes out of their mouth is likely to move the market in some way. And
it's definitely going to influence it.
What it sounds a lot like to me, Joey, is that as long as things are proceeding as planned, it's already been considered and priced into the market, which is why things aren't really moving. When something comes in, oh yeah, that's what we thought was going to happen. That's what the market's already there. It's already past that.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole, I need to hear from you now. All right, this is crazy, but I want to know, how does that affect people buying and selling? In other words, what I'm hearing is inventory is low, demand is high. I'm hearing that's going to cause prices to go up. But right now, I'm just pulling things out of my bald head.
Stop scaring people.
I will do that.
You're
so
an
tell
alarmist.
me what's going on. I am. I found that out.
People have been saying it's easier to find a husband than a house. So,
I mean,
well, it depends how old you are.
I guess. So, it's been crazy. I mean, it was a little bit slow November, December, January. A lot of us were doing a lot of business development during that time, and a lot less running around. But that's pretty typical for your typical agent. Do a lot of business development. Never slow down. Always working and trying to network and get things moving, knowing that literally overnight it will pop and things will happen. So that's kind of what's been happening. I mean, I've had people just kind of sitting and waiting because they see everybody else sitting and waiting. And then they go on vacation or they do the holidays and then they come back and all of a sudden, what is it, beginning of March? So mid-February, little bit after Super Bowl, as we all say, like wait to list or spring market after Super Bowl. Well, yeah, it started to pop, and things that were sitting were all of a sudden all going under contract, and all going under contract from what I've seen at the list price or more. So one, you have to be priced right for that to happen.
All right. And what does that mean? Go into more detail about price right to get multiple offers.
So there's a couple ways of pricing. There's actually 3 ways of pricing. Pricing under market value, a smidge, pricing at market value, or pricing over market value. Pricing over is the kiss of death because you just sit, price change, chase the market, never get to where you're supposed to be, and then you lose a lot of money. You leave a lot of money on the table, right?
It costs you money. It's statistically speaking, those price drops are going to put you at a price point that is less than what it would have been if you had priced it at, what Nicole is going to recommend.
Yeah, because there's listings I don't get because I'm very honest and know my numbers, and I look at this. I look at where they're going to sit in the market, and I say, hey, this is where you should be. This is where you'll get multi-offers, or maybe at least 2, just to leverage. You want to be able to leverage every deal.
I can't expound on how important of a word that is, leverage. But go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, leverage. I mean, when you get more than one offer, and you're not begging somebody to buy your house, but people are begging you to sell the house to them, you get to leverage that contract and that deal. What price point do you want?
Yeah, imagine. I mean, it makes so much sense until it's you who is selling the house, right?
Yeah, it is. And I've sold mine during COVID. As soon as COVID happened, I put that sign up saying, if I'm going to tell my clients to sell in this kind of market, I'm going to have to do it myself. And I did that. And of course, it was easier said than done. And I had to price appropriately, and not overpriced. But a lot of the places that we were seeing just sit, all of a sudden are under contract. I mean, I'm making appointments right now, and they're going under contract either completely word of mouth before listing or private market. So I'll be on the way driving to a condo in the city, and $700,000-$800,000 condos are going for cash, way over asking. And these people just don't have anything to buy. There's not a lot on the market, and people are sick of waiting, and they saw some movement with the rates. They saw them go up, and then they get scared, and some sit, and some are like, you know what, screw it. Let's just do this and refinance later. And they make that move because they're sick of waiting.
It's weird because I'm on the other end of that when I do our follow-up interviews with our clients, and they're always asking, well, shouldn't the sellers fix all this? And it's weird because I'm explaining to them the word leverage, as you just mentioned, and whether or not they have any or don't have any, they need to talk to the real estate broker. So if you don't mind, I'd like to know, how do you, on both ends, on both your sellers and your buyers, how do you explain to them how much leverage or power they have to negotiate?
Well, for sellers, I tell them the 3 ways to price. I say especially in this market right now, to really get as much money as you can, you need to either price it right at market value or just a smidge under. And it causes that influx of traffic, and people see each other. It's human nature to want what somebody else has.
That's
So
true.
they see each other and they're like, oh, this must be a good place. I want it. No, I want it. No, I want it. Then the offers come in. So just recently, I put a 2-flat up, 17 offers on it in the first day.
Yeah, they see on showing time that there's, the showings are booked out, for a week, and it's like, ooh, that one, there must be something to it. And then, tell me if I'm misinterpreting, but when a buyer who's out there looking sees a property that has got is growing some moss, let's say it's on the market 70, 80, 90 days, they start to think there's something wrong with that place. Why doesn't anyone else want it? So it's kind of the opposite of the notion that you're explaining about, wanting what other people want. The herd mentality is that, let's stay away from that because, there must be something wrong. Or, this is come back on the market twice already, there must be inspection issues. And, whether or not that's the case, the stigma starts to attach.
Right. And I explain to my clients too, buy and sellers, price can fix anything. because if it is an inspection issue, price fixes that, right? So we tend to look into that as well. Like, okay, what do you know about your property that you should tell me that might be an issue coming up, so we can tackle that head on and not wait till, like what we were talking about this morning, until after inspection.
Yeah.
Right, Charlie? Like, it's just
I'm
it's
with
a lot
you.
easier.
Yeah,
I've had conversations with my clients as well, and Joey, I wouldn't mind you jumping in on this. You know, I'm going through and I'm seeing peeling paint. I'm seeing missing handrails. I'm seeing broken windows. And, you know, one of the first questions I ask him, are you going with an FHA or VA mortgage? And then I talk about the minimum property standards and the minimum property requirements. And Joey, I don't know, you tell me, is it, you know, which ones are going to cost our clients more money to resend that appraiser out there?
Oh man. Well, on the VA side, let's always go VA, right?
You are a nerd when it comes to that, so yeah.
Right.
That's what I heard.
No, I mean, with these things happening, if it's being brought up in the beginning, I know that it in a market like this, it can make an FHA or VA offer less attractive. But the buyers are allowed to make those fixes if the sellers are okay with that, right?
Whoa, hold on a minute. I need to know more about that because I'm telling my clients the opposite.
Yeah, no, the VA allows it. I'm not saying FHA allows it, but the buyer
okay.
can literally put the work into the property. They are 1,000% allowed to. It's right in the handbook, right? So, is it a way to help with the negotiations? Potentially, that's more something that I would lean on Nicole to answer, right? But yeah, if a property is not going to meet MPRs, then the buyer has options if they're a veteran to make it work out without costing more to the seller, but also getting it up to meet standards. So, yeah.
I've had that happen a lot with the FHA too. So
Yeah.
some of my buyers will strip and paint a deck or strip the paint inside or on the windows. I've had numerous do that to alleviate the cost from the seller because they really wanted the house. And they didn't want them to go on to the next buyer. So they fronted the cost and the work and did it before even closing.
Jesus.
Well,
How
don't you have
stingy-
to do that or not?
Sometimes you
Sorry,
can get
Pat.
a letter, right, Joey? Isn't there something that you can put in writing saying this is going to be done, or that I've done that once?
Yeah, so you also have the options for escrow holdbacks. But yeah, as long as we can show that the work was completed, then it's not a terribly big deal at the end of the day. It's really just knowing what the offer is, and as a buyer, understanding like what kind of market that you are in and winning. And winning because you want to win, not just for the sake of winning, right? The house has to be worth it for you to do that.
Yeah, no,
course.
you'll win, and then Charlie tells you all the things that's going on with the house, and you go, "Oh, I don't feel like a winner anymore."
But that's why you have to price right, because when those things happen, you don't want buyer's remorse or to
Well-
deal with buyer's remorse.
And we also have to, you know, I'm a believer that you, Nicole, should be well knowledgeable in all of our professions. And I'm talking about the attorney, the home inspector, and the real estate broker. Because, you know, one of the things that I've been learning, and I've been doing this for about 30 years, and it turns out that, like Pat was joking, that I was being somewhat of an alarmist. And once I started doing the interviews with people, you know, and I let them talk first, and I listen, they're really scared of these items. And I'm like, yeah, but it's only $25 a fix, or, you know, even if it's $1,000, it's really not a lot of money in the grand scheme. And then we talk about the probability of something going wrong, which is very low. And I'm like, you know, I really don't see this as an issue or something that a lot of people would spend a lot of money on. You know, another good one would be electrical wires going through a tree. All right, we just want you to be aware of it, but we shouldn't tell you that it's a safety item and people are going to be, you know, your house is going to burn down because of such. And I guess that's where I'm going. Things could be fixed, and it's more so how do you handle that with the clients, whether it's mortgage problems and attorney problems, or, which never happens, inspector problems, of course. So, sorry, that's my jokes, and they don't get better. But anyway, please.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you do the interviews, the Zoom meetings with the buyers to explain the inspection report, because there's so many inspectors that don't do it, and these buyers want to hear it from you. They might feel a little bit pressured at the at the location, at the home, to get in and get out and not really understand or hear everything. So I think those Zoom calls that you do with your clients at the end of the day makes a big difference, because they can be comfortable with asking you questions that they might think sound stupid, or, just say, hey, listen, is this house falling apart, or is it good? Are we, I get that question a million times. Is this house going to fall down because of a crack?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why knowledge is power. The more you know, the better you can answer that stuff.
Yeah, let's not forget, and I've said it before, that the seller has been living in that house for many years, and is still alive to tell the tale. So that's where they're coming from. And the other side of that coin is sometimes things do get picked up in the inspection, and they need to be dealt with, whether it's the foundation crack that is showing deflection or whatever. It's you got two pieces of concrete moving in the opposite direction. Whether or not the seller knew about it, and this is something I talked a lot about last week, which is, if you are a seller, trying to negotiate stuff after the price has been agreed upon. And by saying stuff, I mean items that are likely to come up in the inspection. I feel like there might be a tendency to just say, well, let's see what the inspector picks up. Well, at that point, now you're just waiting on the inspector to pick up on things that actually will give the buyer leverage to negotiate credits, or even the buyer decides to walk away, which now you've wasted a bunch of your own time. Negotiating all of that stuff up front, so that when the inspector comes through and picks up that the roof is old, that there's a bit of moisture in the basement, all of those things have already been discussed, negotiated, and as long as the communication between the attorney and the realtor is good, then that discussion will be had, and you won't get someone trying to take a second bite at the apple. And even if you do, which happens a lot, where you go, hey, we talked about that roof for a week before we finally went under contract, and now you've got the attorney sending a letter saying the roof's old, I need $20,000 off of the price. You go, that's not happening, because we've already negotiated that. The buyer, and it's probably not the buyer's fault. The buyer probably had a conversation with the lawyer, and that conversation, was between them. And because there weren't more conversations about that, the buyer is more than happy to take the lawyer's advice to ask for whatever. And even if all of those discussions were had, because they're just being led around, and if I say, hey, we can ask for $20,000, I don't know many buyers that wouldn't be like, let's ask for $20,000. But then when I circle back and I talk to Nicole and I go, hey, they want $20,000 for the roof, and Nicole's like, oh, don't do that. You are going to absolutely put a monkey wrench into this transaction that doesn't need to happen. That bit of communication will then get circled back to the buyer, and you go, this is what I'm understood to have happened. And then the buyer goes, yeah, actually, and I go, yeah, let's let
that rust.
Yeah, let me delete that bit out of my letter before it goes out. And now we've averted a potential stink bomb getting chucked into the middle.
Well, what do you guys think about, like you mentioned, older roof and stuff, and one of the things I suggest is to bring out a couple of the roofers that we know, and especially ones that are well educated in insurance adjusting, right? And we know that we've had storms recently. We know that there's been hails, and most of these things are for 2-year periods that have come in there. And
1 or 2 years.
Depending on the insurance company, 1 or 2 years, thank you. And it also depends on the amount of pocks that are going to be up in the roof. But how do you feel about filing a claim on the seller's insurance? And Nicole, I'd love to get that on both views, on the sell side and the buy side.
Sometimes you can negate that through, like, for example, I just listed that 2-flat. Everybody was coming through. I mean, we had probably over 60 showings on that place, but people were asking about the roof. So we had showings Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My client knew nothing about the roof, so she's been there since 1975. And it was
a little bit of time.
A little bit of time, and she knew nothing
years.
about it.
Yeah.
Her husband took care of everything. So I hired my roofing guy. He went out there on Sunday right before the last bit of showings and went up there, said it has probably 10 years left and it needs a little bit of patching here and there. Did it for $800, gave me the receipt. I passed it on to the buyer. We were done. And like you said, we've had incidences too where I tell people, hey, here's the mechanical and update list. If you don't know a date for certain and you don't have backup, don't put that date on there. Because if you put a date on there and the inspector goes up there and realizes, hey, it's not a new roof like it says here, it's 20 years old and needs replacement, that's a $20,000 tick off the seller to the buyer, which actually happened to one of my clients because it was a estate sale. They didn't know. They thought they saw some paperwork and they thought it was a new roof and said it was new. And my client got $18,000 back in a price reduction and a credit. But to what you're asking, Charlie, about insurance, sure. I mean, I did that with my house when I had hail damage to my siding. And right before I sold it, they came out and replaced my siding. I got a check for it and it was legit. So yeah, you can do that. You can definitely do that. It's better to do it beforehand, or because it has to go on the seller's insurance, unless you wait and then for another hail and then have it on your own insurance.
I mean,
but that's a waiting game, right? And,
it's inevitable. Something's going to happen,
right? And then your premium goes up. But sometimes sellers don't want to do that because then their premium goes up.
Well, that's not true. I'm going to interrupt that, and that's part of what I've learned about the insurance adjusting business. It has nothing to do with if you file a complaint as far as your rates go. That's only based on your credit rating is number one, and then the location of the property. So if other people have made claims, believe it or not, your house goes up, whether you did or didn't. That's going to happen. So you being another person, they're a whole different insurance rule because of the amount of hurricanes and we got friends down there that are replacing metal roofs that are 19 years old. And I'm like, well, that's a 50-year-old roof. And they're making them take it off because it's closing in on 20 years. And they just said, well, replace it anyway or we won't insure you. But that's different than here in Illinois. All right?
No doubt.
We don't have those kind of issues. And as long as somebody can make a legitimate claim on it. But that's something I would love to do more research on. But I do not believe, and everything that I've learned about it, just filing a claim is not going to affect your insurance rates.
Well, that's where having a good insurance agent is going to be really, really important. If you're getting insurance from it's a ranking officer in the military or a famous former basketball player. That's not ideal, right?
I'm like, where the hell are you going with this? And then all of a sudden
I'm trying not to chuck certain companies under the bus because, they're not Spirit Airlines, and Spirit, I'm still here. I'm still here waiting.
Bring it on.
Bring it. But yeah, if you're working with a reputable insurance, so many agents, insurance agent, ask them, be like, hey, what do you think about this? Should I make this claim now? Should I wait? What you don't want to have happen is a situation where you make a claim and, it ticks the right boxes over at the insurance company, and all of a sudden the buyer goes to get their insurance quote and it's like astronomical. So,
well, right, because they add it up. They look at all that and the history and how many times there's a claim, and that all affects
There's
pricing.
a lot that goes into it. A lot.
You know what? Maybe we need to bring an insurance agent on here just to go ahead and learn more about that.
I think that's
great idea.
Yeah. Just let them get them on and let them talk because insurance.
I know a great high-ranking military officer that can do that.
Patrick, give us your contact information if you don't mind, please.
Hey, all right. I'm Patrick. I'm not the mustard monster. My name is Patrick Loftus. If you were listening long enough to hear my first intro and you got that call back, I love you. You're one of my people, and you should definitely reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram, Loftus_law. Follow me on TikTok. Even more important, Loftus Law.
Thank you. Joey, please.
Why, yes, you can follow me, Joey Matthews, the VA Loan Nerd, at the VA Loan Nerd on all the social media platforms. I do fun videos. They educate people, and they're a blast.
He's right.
Or you could feel free to call or text me at 630-235-2400. 0800-646-05.
And tap the heart,
Yeah.
Give us
Give me them hearts!
Give us some engagement.
Some
Every time I see the
love.
VA loan nerd, I'm
Loves.
tapping the heart. I'm tapping the follow. I'm sharing it
Samesies.
That's the
with
key.
Charlie, and Charlie doesn't even watch it, but it doesn't matter because the
Charlie
share is what
watches them
matters.
all. Andy shares it too. But, for anybody that's listening, look these two up, all right? The one thing I can say is every day, if not 3 times a day, and they're little tidbits, but they're just valuable. That's all there is to it. And they'll come through quickly. You'll just, whether you know it or don't know it already, it's just great. And as far as I'm concerned, you two are experts in this field, and I value everything that you say, and I've learned so much from you.
As
So-
you're sitting on the toilet scrolling through, you'll learn something. It is, a really, really good way to, leverage your time. I think you were going to ask Nicole to, give her contact information rather than me talking about people scrolling through
I can't get that
social media on
I
the
can't
toilet.
get that imaginary look out of my face of you sitting on the toilet or out of my head. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I know it's horrible. Nicole, please, how do you top that? I really don't know.
What a nice lead in.
I can't. I can't. I'm just going to go basic and old school.
Thank
so 773-727-2199.
One
Nicole
more time,
Hadju.
a little bit slower, please.
Too fast.
Sorry.
773-727-2199. And it's Nicole Hadju and the Hadju Group on all social media.
Sounds good. And like I said, we do make mistakes every now and then. We bring on here real estate agents that I really don't respect. And Patrick's laughing.
I hope it's not.
It's
Not any of
definitely
us.
not
This is-
you.
this is
I
your
would never
second
make
appearance,
that comment.
so-
Yeah, you're here
Yeah.
for a second time, which means that
I
your
know.
ethics and everything else are extremely valuable to me.
And I know who
Thank
he's
you,
talking
Charlie.
about, and I will not name the
No,
name.
we're not going to name any sort of names, but
Now
I
I'm
am.
curious.
No, maybe
We'll tell
privately.
you off there.
But it's to me, I'm very prejudiced against most real estate agents. All right, I've had some
He
bad
just
run-ins.
comes out and says it.
It is. It's true. I'm not going to lie.
I like his transparency.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. But when I find somebody
You
who
people.
has the same ethics as I do, I'm not you peopling anybody. But when you find somebody that has the same ethics that I do, I find extreme value with them, and I love to get their message out on the radio. I'm glad we have that ability.
Fully endorse.
Fully
and,
endorse.
and Charlie, I feel that so deeply, what you just said is, I feel like there's, the cohort of people in this business that are like, so focused on the client, care about,
Yeah.
making sure somebody, for the next average 4 or 5 years lives in a place that they love, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the other cohort of people who are just like, give me money.
Give me my money.
And,
Yeah.
navigating that as part of the first cohort is draining.
So, I'm going to give all our listeners right now a little bit of advice. If you're going to be interviewing a real estate agent, just ask them, what is like the most important thing to them? And if they answer, finding the house or getting the deal closed or they're going anywhere in that direction, then, find somebody else. All right. If they're focusing on, I want you happy. I want you to be able to move in there and look back at everything and be happy that you trusted me to help you. All right. That's somebody that cares about you as a person. Focus your attention on them. All right. And get them into your final thing. All right. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. 312-544-9180. We also own Home Inspection University, and that website is HIUIL, and more specifically, that's Home Inspection University of Illinois. And we do have other, branches in other states, but that doesn't belong to me. We only operate here in Illinois. HIUIL.com. If you're interested in joining the home inspection profession, please reach out, and we'll do what we can to help get you into the field. It's a rewarding field, what we do. You're actually helping people with their basic needs. That's food, water, and shelter. Home ownership is shelter. And, we make or break a whole lot of families by doing that job right. So, all right, I jumped on my soapbox. I got a little emotional. I'm somewhat teary-eyed. And then I want to go back
I'm talking
to...
about breaking families. Holy cow.
Well, it's true. I mean, somebody, I got to tell you, we go into these houses that are flips, And, somebody's going to go in there and they buy a junky home. They do a little cosmetic stuff and it looks beautiful. But then you got water flowing through the walls. You got mold growing everywhere else. You got, structural things that were covered up. We've had plumbing pipes where they're dumping sewer gases inside of houses.
And they're just trying to dump their problem on somebody else.
And once they're out, they're out. They cash out, they get their big money, and guess what? I don't want to be the bad guy.
They don't get their big money.
Sure.
Let me tell you, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but 80% of flips don't make money. That's the facts. And I've had clients who are, they attempt that sort of they've watched the shows on TV. They see at the end they do the list. Hey, they made this much money. It's like, well, okay,
I could do that.
I want to get into it. Well, TV is TV. Let's say, okay, it's not reality TV. The word reality is really it's not really it's not the reality, right? So if you are thinking about going into flipping. Don't just jump into it. Find a mentor who actually has a demonstrated record of success, who can teach you what they know about, doing the spreadsheet. It's about the spreadsheet, and it's about having the relationships with the right contractors, and the expertise, and also the curiosity to want to learn. Most people they just see the dollars and cents of it. They run into oh goodness gracious, I'm $50K short of what I need to be, and it turns into a real nightmare. And whenever I have clients who come to me and they're like, I'm thinking about getting into it, I go, well, you need to know that the first time you do this, you will almost certainly lose money. And there's always someone that responds, well, actually, okay, fine, you're a unicorn if you are getting into the flipping game and you were able to make money on your first flip and you actually did right by the buyer, then hey, awesome, I'm proud of you, I'm happy for you. But most people, especially if they care about delivering a quality product as opposed to, whoops, I'm out of money, I'm not doing anything more, get it on the market so that we can unload this turd I have landed in my lap.
And there's groups out there and stuff, and I know we've had a few, I don't know if they're combination real estate brokers / investors, but they do very well. And there's some unique programs out there that do well. So, but you're right. If you go in there, but isn't that everything though? You go into something uneducated, unknowing, and you just wing it, you're just asking for trouble. And that's what most people do. Knowledge is power. The more we know, the more we're worth. And same thing when it comes to these things. And honestly, I just hate it when we get those flips.
I hate it too.
There's so much work. There's so many headaches. And then I know that there's going to be things that are hidden that we won't find.
Yeah, what often they do, and I've said this before, Charlie, and I think it's completely unfair to the inspector, is they'll get it about 90%, done, put it on the market, lock in that price, and then they're letting you do the punch list. And I can tell you, as someone with construction experience, that is your job as the person managing the construction, is to do that punch list. When you do that walkthrough with the prospective buyer, there shouldn't be 90 things that need to get done. Oh, hey, the dishwasher is not attached to the countertop. The water line to the refrigerator has not been installed. I mean, I could go on, right? There's a double basin sink up in the master. I'm sorry, we say primary now. In the primary bathroom, and only one of the water fixtures is attached, so we can't test the plumbing on the other one. Just stuff, that's not even like, oh well, that's a little thing, we can sort that out. Big stuff, like this isn't done. Anyways, I can go on and on because I've seen too many of these.
And it gets passionate, and I do the same thing. But that does bring up a good point with Nicole here is, because I think you do a lot of listings, right?
I do.
All right. And, I mean, you tell me, please, how do you prep a house to sell stuff? What do you, do you just ask the client what's wrong with it? Do you actually bring out an inspector that you trust? Do you do the inspection?
All of the above, because I have a background in remodeling. And I have my kitchen and bath design certificate, too, from National Kitchen and Bath Association.
That's
so I got
actually pretty
that.
powerful.
She's looking at me ranting. She's just like, just wait till I get to talk. So I'm going to shut up and let you say what you have to say, because I know you have a lot to say right now.
Not too much, but sometimes I forget to tell my clients that I have this experience because it's just part of who I am, and then you forget about it and you're like, oh wait, this is actually kind of valuable that I know how much it would cost to redo this bathroom, and I also know what is wrong with this bathroom looking at it right now, whether it's an older home or a flip.
That's massive. It's huge. I want to draw an underline under that because of how important that experience is,
knowledge,
and what a differentiator that is. And I'm sorry if I sound a little, like I'm sucking up, but I'm sorry. It's just I find it to be an important thing.
Well, I appreciate that, because sometimes I forget to tell people this until we're looking at a horrible flip, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I worked in remodeling. So then I tell them I worked in remodeling for 10 years. I've done 4 of my own houses. I've done other people's homes. Been hired by them to do some flips, and this is unacceptable. Like when you're looking at mismatched cabinetry, corner pieces that are not a corner piece, or even the cover plates are put on upside down, or you're just like, well, what is going on here? If they can't do it right on what we're seeing with the very basics, what is behind the walls, right, Charlie?
There it is.
And that's what you're saying. If they can't do the basics that we're seeing, you don't want to trust what they're doing behind the walls, because it is going to be shady.
I'm never afraid of what I can see, but I am afraid of what I can't.
Oh, I love that.
See.
Yeah.
All right. And you're right. Knowledge is power, and that's where learning more that you can about all the different trades, as I was trying to say earlier, I think makes a real estate broker valuable.
Yeah.
You're competing with 75,000 other licensees in this state. All right. And it's always going to be, why choose me? And if I could give you any advice, put that in writing,
We're
and
doing
make
a concierge program for a lot of our clients, saying, okay, this is how we prep a house, depending on what the circumstance is. But yeah, we can bring in our handyman. We can bring in an inspector. Charlie, come on in and do a pre-inspection of this house. Let them know what's going on, what's going to come up, what should they fix now, what could they just defer to later to maybe the buyer would want to do. Yeah. So that's an option. I think you do those as well, Charlie, for new listings.
We do. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit unique. The goal is to help somebody sell a house. And what we'll do is our normal inspection. We're going to give you our normal report. And then we have a conversation, between the real estate broker, the client, and myself. And it's like, all right, these are the things that we really want to disclose. All right. These are going to come up, and they're going to be headaches. That stuff there is like $20 each. Would you mind removing them from the report? Nope. I'm not going to mind removing that from the report at all. I honestly don't care, what you want to disclose. I'm going to write up a document that is going to help you sell the house. Then you're going to want to fix stuff. Show me that it was fixed and stuff like that. We'll take that out of the report as well. We want an up-to-date, accurate report. Then we can remove all the contact information of the sellers, and we can actually make that public so that you can give a link where somebody could download that information from it. Now, we get a lot of kickback saying that, that's like you're going to get somebody all the bad stuff first before they fall in love with the house.
Yes.
That doesn't help me sell my house, Charlie.
It does.
Nicole?
Well, how often, Patrick, do you deal with, oh my gosh, now they see this. Okay, for instance, I'm listing a house. I had the ceiling scraped and repainted because it was an old leak, no longer active. But as soon as a buyer comes in and they see that, they're going to go, Patrick, can you ask for a $3,000 credit for this tiny little speck on the ceiling? And I fixed that with $800.
Yeah, I'm not that lawyer.
An explanation of what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like you see that water saying, it's like, well, that's, it's a leak that was fixed. And, you scratch your head a little bit thinking, why didn't you, finish the patching and painting? But, there's always some
reasons. It goes back to leveraging it, because I don't have to. Somebody's going to buy it.
Or they don't understand, like you're saying. They're uneducated about it. They don't understand. So I come in educating them about everything in the process. But that takes years of meeting people and meeting people like both of you who are very knowledgeable about what you do and giving us tips and understanding how you do your job.
And Joey, when she says Both of you.
And Joey.
She's talking about
And
just
Joey.
Patrick and me. She's
Joey,
not talking
too.
about you.
I know it.
Joey
It's all
especially.
good. We almost had a deal together. I forget what happened, but it was God, like July or something. But I remember seeing your name on a contract, and I was like, all right, I know this one.
But Joe, you said
Well,
you gave out an oh wow there while we were talking about stuff. What made you say that?
$3K for a speck of paint. Get out of here.
I've
Come on.
seen it.
Come
I've seen it
on.
happen. Haven't you seen it happen? It's crazy what people ask for sometimes.
Yeah, but we go back to 2008, 2007, when the light switch hit. And I know people were giving their firstborn children away to buy my
Yeah.
house.
Well,
It was a whole different ballpark, but we're not in that now.
Well, it's starting to happen a little bit again. And Joey, do you see more appraisal gap writers now? Because I've had to accept a few of those.
I have a VA1 closing on Friday. They did a $130,000 gap waiver on it.
Yeah. I just did one for 40
Yeah.
grand.
Wow.
It's happening. I had
happening.
back-to-back 40 grand ones in Northwest Indiana last month. Yeah.
It's happening
it's
again.
everywhere.
I must
It's
be a
starting.
poor fellow here because both those numbers seem like a lot of money to me. And you're talking about a guy that spends too much money on airplane tickets. And by the way, that all worked out from
Did
last
you
week.
did you
folks.
finally figure it out?
I did. It's all cleared
geez.
up and we're good to go. We got the other tickets.
You
So
should have seen Triggered Charlie. It was a sight.
I was shaking.
You buy too many tickets, Charlie?
Well, it was too expensive. We're going to go to do one of those riverboat cruises in Germany, Austria, and Hungary.
He wants to fly lay flat all the way to Germany.
Doesn't
and-
everybody?
Well, sure. I mean,
You know?
Moneybags Bellefontaine over there. He's got the dough to make that happen.
Bank in Bellefontaine. Like it.
That's all right. I was in the pickle barrel last week too, so keep it coming.
I would
You know?
love it if he's flying Air France and they see his name, they're like, salut, monsieur, and he's just like, hey, my name's Charlie Bellefontaine. I'm
Oh,
from
stop it.
Chicago, and I don't know what that guy's saying.
Como dit-on mustard en français?
Dijon?
I will tell you this though. My first wife used to be a flight attendant, and she went to Paris, and she was there, and somebody looked at the credit card because she was paying for her meals, and she goes, "Bellefontaine, that is not French. That is Canadian." And it's like
Oh, really? Someone
they
called
were-
you out on that, huh?
called her out.
Oh,
I
called
wasn't
her
there,
out, okay.
but yeah, they called her out on that. So yeah, even though it's French Canadian. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like French. It's like diet French light.
I guess I don't know.
I'll ask my brother-in-law.
Don't tell
He's from
the
Quebec.
French Canadians that, though.
No,
They'll
they
be very
I'm-
unhappy.
I'm not going to say a word.
No.
Every time we've been to Canada, and I love it there, by the way. It's just amazing. Yeah, we went up to Lake Louise. That was another vacation.
Oh,
but
it's
this is about
beautiful.
real estate. This isn't about
How much-
Charlie's vacation plans.
How much you spend on those plane tickets?
Too much again. And then same thing. We got a really nice upgraded hotel room. But
We
You
should
deserve
do.
it.
No.
I should get you on my cheap flight TikTok side hustle, and we'll call it expensive flights with CB.
It's in yeah. You know what? I'll do it, and then you'll have all your listeners laughing at me. I mean,
I found a flight to Nuremberg, and it only
you-
cost me $5K. Let me
I
tell
was
you how
all
I find
happy
it.
that it was $500 less than going straight into Frankfurt costs more than going Frankfurt Nuremberg.
Well, the algorithm, they want you on that plane to Nuremberg. That's
So
how
they
it
gave me
goes.
a discount. They gave me that flight for free, and the Frankfurt trip was cheaper for that one, but it was still a lot of money.
What a deal.
What a deal. So anyway, talking about real estate and stuff like that. What about on the buy side? How do you prepare your clients when we come up with that big long list? And how do you explain to them, like, well, what do you think? You still want it? Or do you even ask them to negotiate for it?
You
How
still
does
want
all
this
that go?
thing?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'll prepare them before they even write an offer. And I did that recently for out-of-town buyers buying in Skokie. They said, well, this is kind of the house we like, and it's what we're used to, and we like the quaintness of it. And I said, well, the toilet's a little messed up, and the light fixtures are messed up, and everything is just not where it should be and not installed properly. And there's a lot going on here, and I don't trust this house. So they went ahead with it, got it inspected, and we walked out mid-inspection and said, we're done.
Yeah,
So they
those-
bought another house, and they're happy in their new house, and
you
And
know,
they're happy with you.
they're happy with me. But
That's
you
the
got to set
important part.
expectations, and it
Yes.
starts with. I always say it starts with a little bit of a buyer consult, but part of that buyer consult is also setting them up with somebody like Joey too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, the
Yeah.
right lender. Let me tell you,
that makes a big difference.
man.
does.
And I'm dealing with that a lot. And hiring someone like Nicole or any of the people who we've had on here
Not
who,
any
who
of
we.
them.
Let me finish my
Now
thought.
I'm really
Any-
curious,
any of
Charlie.
them who after we're done talking to them, we get the right feeling from, right? We get to know them. Sometimes we get to like them, and if it goes really well, we get to trust them. The ones that we've had
Important
on
words.
here who we get all the way with them. They will generally have good gut instincts, and if your
Yeah.
real estate broker is walking through the house going, "Some ain't right here," there's probably a darn good chance that they're right.
Yeah, sometimes I won't go over the threshold. And now my clients, some of them have become my friends, and they laugh at me. And they're like, I remember when you wouldn't even go past the threshold of the house. You're like, we're leaving. We're gone.
Okay.
We're out. Like,
That's
Just what they
yeah.
need.
That's
you
huge, man. Like, and similarly, it doesn't happen as often because I'm not seeing all of the houses, but I'll see a report and I'll see what's on there, and I'll have gotten to know the client a little bit, and I'll be like, we need to have a real serious conversation about this because it's like, as Charlie, you say, it's how much and who's paying, and if they're not someone that's got the wherewithal to be the one who's paying, soon after closing. They need to know that, these things are going to cost X amount. And if you don't have, that comfort level putting, more money into this after you've, basically spent all of your available cash on a down payment, then, it may not be the right one. I mean, you bought a house, you said you had that exact situation, and then the roof starts leaking within the first year, right?
That was my first home in Elmhurst. Yeah.
How did that feel?
Well, I had to borrow money from my mother-in-law,
There you go.
to go ahead and get the roof fixed because I was a brand new homeowner and I was strapped for cash.
I can only imagine how that felt.
It was. I was really proud. Hey, don't worry, I'll take care of your daughter. And by the way, can I borrow a few $1,000s to in 1980 money? Can I borrow a few $1,000s to go ahead and fix my roof? But I got this. We're on it.
Hey, you
Something-
made it. You made it
Everybody
through.
needs help. Everybody needs help.
Something that you mentioned, and it's something we're working on developing right now, but I would like to offer myself up, for this right now before we get the whole product going, is we're trying to develop a system where as you're doing the showings, and it doesn't have to be every showing, but let's say that somebody's really interested in this house, and we want to know more before the offer is actually made. We're looking at where we can just have you take a photo of the data plates for the furnace, the water heater, the air conditioner, and then we could run it through the system and we could tell you how old these things are.
Brilliant.
We also want to make it a communication tool between the real estate agent and our company so that if you're like, hey, how serious is this? You take a picture that's in the system, your client has access to it, we have access to it, and we can comment on it. Scale of 1 to 10, it's an 8, or it's a 2, whatever it comes in there. Or you want to ask this question beforehand. And I guess the reason why I'm working on doing this is I'm getting frustrated when deals get kiboshed. I really feel it for my clients, all right? I feel it hard for my clients. It's
I
an
hate
emotional roller coaster.
I hate writing that letter. Every time I hate writing it because it's just like,
Someone's
so much
dreams just
time,
got
energy,
crushed.
emotions, dreams that are involved in this stuff. And if there's some way that we could head that off, and that's where, I was getting all giddy over here when you were talking about, I look for these things, ahead of time. And it's like, well, how do we all help somebody eliminate some of those hassles? All right.
Well, you have
How
to
does
know,
you-
yeah.
Yeah,
You
without
have to
the
know
knowledge.
going in. Well, then you have to create that type of program or product, like you're saying, where you're like, okay, this is what you do. Just send me a picture or go on this site or fill out this form or whatever it may be of
This is an
the
asphalt
data
roof.
plates or the roof
Yeah.
or whatever, and ask me the questions, because then that also provides that. It gives that trust. Like, hey, this is somebody I trust. He's going to answer questions. So now the client is going to trust you, like you, that you're doing this. And will probably want to hire you for the inspection.
Well, at
You
a
have a
minimum,
lot of the data.
Let me make that promise to you right now. You text me any of that
Well, I'm gonna
stuff,
do
and
this
those
tomorrow.
answers will get done.
Yeah, I'm going to do this
You know?
tomorrow now. I'm going to
Yeah.
text you a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm fine with that. You know?
Text them like pictures of a pool, pictures of a gazebo.
Oh, I've had pool questions like crazy.
We do. We got a fancy schmancy machine that will tell you if the pool is leaking.
you ever-
It's got to be active.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So
I did the same house twice, and we found a leak in the waterfall feature on the underground plumbing.
The
right.
waterfall feature.
It was a beautiful home. All right. It was a beautiful underground pool, and we identified the leak and we isolated it to the waterfall feature. And then a year and a half later, they went to sell the house, and I walk up and I'm like, this house looks familiar. And the owner comes out and he's like, Charlie, and I did this one myself. And I'm like, yeah, I was here before, wasn't I? He says, yeah. I go, is the waterfall still broken? He goes, yeah, we told him about it. I'm like, okay. Then it's not going to be a problem. I said, just so you know, I'm going to tell him again, unless you don't want me to run it, but I'm going to tell him, the history on this. And they're like, yeah, I figured you would.
That's great. That's great that you
Yeah.
have that, because that's been a question, especially during winter.
Oh, we can't
buying
do
a
it in the
house
winter.
with a pool.
Yeah.
So it has to be running,
Yes,
water
be
in it.
operational.
Do you have the piece that clicks onto the pool covers and pulls it off? Because that's been hard to find.
No, that I don't have. I'm not even going to touch it, but I'm going to give a little plug for North Shore Pools in
Okay.
Northbrook, Illinois. I built a really good relationship with Ed, the owner over there. And, we end up doing all of their pool inspections right now. So we'll be doing them all in the summer. But as far as getting any of that equipment and stuff like that, he would be your go-to
Gotcha for
guy.
that. Okay.
And if you want
Good
a
to know.
connection and to meet him, I'll
Yeah,
get that for you.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
love that.
I'd find out. Here's something that just comes to mind. I mean, if you're buying a house with a pool, I'd find out what that gas bill is during the summer.
Well, it depends on how much you want to heat it, though. But those pool heaters, those things are usually 140 to 200,000 BTUs. Or let me rephrase that, 199.999. It gets a whole nother category once you hit 200,000. But that's a lot of heat and a lot of power that it puts out of there. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it all depends on how warm you keep it is what your gas bills are going to be on that.
I mean,
It's only money.
It's like a nice one
Well, and a
pool.
lot of those people, they want the pool. They don't care.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
They
fair
ride a
enough.
house with a pool.
Holy cow, I went 4 minutes over. I wasn't watching the thing, so we're going to end up getting squished here.
All right, Mickey
I'm going to
Mouse.
just say goodbye to everybody else. I apologize, Devin Tingle, for going so long. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine, and this is the Home Buyer's Hour, and I'm out.